and welcome to the 19th episode of Women's Prowess. On behalf of Hope Foundation and Research Center, on behalf of GTT Foundation and the Rotary Club of Pune Riverside, I welcome our esteemed keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Ambi Parameswaran, our honored panelists of the day, Sunanda Mehta, Dr. Shona Nag, Kiran Grewal, Sulajja Firodia Motwani ma'am, and our panel chair, Dr. Uma Ganesh. And our very special host for so many years, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan sir, and Aruna ma'am, who unfortunately couldn't be with us here today for the event. All my invitees, my colleagues, staff colleagues, students, friends, guests, and all those who've joined us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So welcome to this episode. It's a tradition at I Square IT that we always start every auspicious event here by lighting the I Square IT Vidya Jyoti. And today, to do the honors, I would like to invite the dignitaries of the day, Mr. Ambi Parameswaran sir, Sunanda ma'am, Shona ma'am, Kiran ma'am, Sulajja ma'am, Uma ma'am, Ganesh sir, Amrita ma'am, Vaishali Patil ma'am, and Madhuri Reddy to please do the honors and step forward and light the I Square IT Vidya Jyoti. Can we have a, ma'am, or Uma ma'am, can we have a group photo with everybody there? Shona ma'am, for the photo. Thank you so much. Deenanath sir, thank you for joining us today. Prerna ma'am, thank you for joining us. And to express our gratitude and delight to the extreme panelists and guests who have come here today, we would like to extend a small token of appreciation. And again, to do the honors, I'd like to invite the host, Ganesh sir and Amrita ma'am, to please step forward as we welcome the guest. Please come forward. Okay. Just a second. Okay, we'd like to thank first Mr. Ambi Parameswaran sir. Please, could you step forward to accept the small token of appreciation from us? Not yet, sir. Your presence itself is... Sunanda ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Shona Nag. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kiran Grewal. Sulaja Firodia Mutwani ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And we have a special gift for Uma ma'am. And this is for, she's been an integral part as a panel chair for so many years. So Uma ma'am, thank you so much. This is a special gift for you from us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ganesh sir. Thank you, Amrita ma'am. Okay, so before we begin the event, there's a small presentation that I would like to share with you all. And this is just to help you understand the three hosts who are there. So with the three hosts for this Women Prowess, who's been, out of this Hope Foundation and Research Center and GTT Foundation, have been on this for a very long time. And we're very happy and honored to have the Rotary Club of Pune Riverside join us for today's episode. The HFRC is a trust that's been working towards nation building since its inception. And the founder, our late Shri Prahlad P. Chhabria sir's dream was to see India become a leader, a superpower, and he firmly believed in the youth who could transform this country, that is you all, who could transform this country. And today his legacy is being carried forward by his daughter, Dr. Aruna, who is not here today, but I'm sure she would be watching us online. So thank you, ma'am. The Hope Foundation has three institutes. There's FAMT, which is based at Ratnagiri, and my colleagues and friends from Ratnagiri have also joined us online. They're watching us online. I2IT, which we are here, and PPCRC, which was actually established to promote research. The research development, consultancy, and collaboration cells have been formed at both FAMT and I2IT to undertake funded and sponsored projects to explore consultancy works, guide faculty, staff, and students to address issues of research, as well as organize programs that infuse a research culture among all of us. The Hope Foundation has a number of charitable activities as well, which is providing financial assistance to cancer patients, pediatric surgeries, upliftment of rural community, food essential drives, NGO investments. And it is a commitment of the foundation to go beyond just education. Through impactful charitable initiatives, we have extended medical and financial support to patients in need, collaborated with Mulani Eye Care for vision restoration, and supported students through scholarships and tuition aid. The outreach program also includes women empowerment, environmental awareness, social campaigns, and a strong focus on inclusive community development through activities like NSS, cleanliness drive, disaster management efforts. And these are all our efforts in how we can give back to the society. The Hope Foundation, in association with IEEE, India Council, and IEEE Pune chapter, have established awards in honor of our founder chairman, late Shri Prahlad P. Chhabria sir. And these honor young women who have been working towards the betterment of society. And this annual award contains a prize as well as a medal and a citation. And so far, we have been honored to give award to meritorious young women to the amount of 20,25,000. Moving on, it was my honor to introduce to you the GTT Foundation, which is previously known as the Natarajan Education Society, founded by Ganesh sir, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, and Dr. Uma Ganesh. And this is actually a tribute to the unflinching dedication of Ganesh sir's father, late Sri Ganapati Iyer Natarajan, and to bring some hope to the rural aspirations of people in rural Jharkhand. The GTT Foundation has been established to provide relevant skills and technology-enabled solutions to transform the communities. And it focuses on 4 main areas. That's empowering women for sustainable income generation, career guidance to people with social economic challenges, in turn helping transform rural communities by providing employability solutions, transforming rural communities through employability solution, identifying and supporting innovation. Through the We Chimney project, it has helped create digital entrepreneurs through their e-com portals. The public-private partnership model at Anand, Gujarat supports women entrepreneurships through skill development, and the team also works on empowering the youth through mentoring, training, and providing employability opportunities, especially to the underprivileged. The healthcare initiative focuses on technical skills to health professionals, as well as creating a livelihood opportunities to specially abled citizens. The NES Innovation Awards for the last 11 years has been nurturing and encouraging as well as supporting the youth of our country to come forward with innovative ideas. The third co-host, the Rotary Club of Pune Riverside. It's my honor to introduce to you the work and the social work that they have been doing, has been serving the community since 1989. With 44 professionals and entrepreneurs as members, their projects span education, women empowerment, youth development, and public health. And noteworthy among these initiatives are Ladli, which is a menstrual health program, Happy Schools, where they have taken up the responsibility to upgrade government schools, and Pune Mind Fest that supports Nari Shakti and Vikasit Bharat. So we are extremely honored, and I would like to request all the audience to give a big hand to all the 3 hosts who have been working to help the community, the society, and our nation at large. So we will now be moving on to the main event, and to begin that, I'd like to invite Ganesh Natarajan sir to please step forward and welcome the dignitaries and the guests of the day. Please welcome Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. So should I move this? Shall I move this?
Thank you, Vaidehi, and very good afternoon to all of you. Absolute pleasure to welcome my friend Ambi Parmeshwaran here. Thank you very much, sir, for coming all the way from Mumbai and going back. I know it's not easy. Also, the president of the Rotary Club of Riverside, Prerna Gaikwad. Panelists, Vaidehi and Amrita from I2 IT. Faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen. So it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here, because I keep saying that there is always an annual festival, too many in Pune. But this is one annual festival that we really like, because celebrating women's prowess is for us a matter of personal pride. And just anecdotally, I think Vaidehi mentioned my late father, Ganapati Iyer Natarajan. And even way back when I was growing up, and I was like 6 years old, growing up in a little village called Tatisilva near Ranchi in Jharkhand. Our work always, my sister and I used to come back from school and spend 2 hours in the Ramakrishna Mission Seva Kendra that he set up. So it was, for us, it was social works for me since the age of 6 has been something we always do. So it wasn't something like, you wait till you finish your corporate role and then you retire and then do social work. So it's an ongoing process. And I must tell you one anecdote. My father was this person who had an absolute conviction that if you were doing good work, good will always happen to you. And I still remember one day, the then Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi, had come to Ranchi, and she, of course, they had invited a group of us who were reasonable singers of patriotic songs to sing an invocation song for her. And it was very nice. We had a good joy, and she actually talked to some of us. And the next day, my father discovered that her cavalcade of 40 ambassador cars, we're talking about the 70s, was going to drive past his Seva Kendra on the way from Ranchi to a place called Bokaro. So my father said, we have to get the Prime Minister to visit our center. So my mother said, because January, it's very cold in Ranchi in January. Are you serious? He said, yes, yes, we'll make it happen. So we said, how is this going to happen? Because there's a fairly significant main road between Ranchi and Bokaro. My father said, we'll do one thing. We'll catch these 5 boys who sang yesterday for her. The same clothes they were wearing yesterday, let them stand on the side of the road. And the temperature was like 2 degrees in the morning. And we were wearing khaki half pants and white shirts and not really easy. My mother was really upset. But my father insisted. So we stood there. And sure enough, one ambulance, 3 police cars, 40 ambassadors, 2 more ambulances, and 1 more police car. They all went. And my mother said, now can we go home, please? My father said, wait. He had this conviction that something was going to happen. And sure enough, one of those ambassadors, followed by a police car, came back, and Mrs. Gandhi got out of the car and said, aren't you the same children who sang yesterday? And my father, of course, said, no, Honorable Prime Minister, you must come and visit our Kendra. And she actually came, spent 20 minutes, and my mother said, okay, boss, what you say happens. So since then, I've always been inspired by the fact that if you're doing something with honorable altruistic motives, good things will happen. In fact, Suleja was kind of pulling my leg saying that why do you do so many things? There are so many good things to be done in this country. Okay, apart from making money and building a name in the corporate sector, which is not the big issue here. Okay, so today, in fact, in the last 10 years or more, we've been associated. We've moved from what you saw there. Today, we have a network of EV training centers all over the country, which are funded by people like Accenture and JP Morgan and Standard Chartered, and which is actually helping people even in rural India to aspire to be EV mechanics, EV salespeople, etc. That's going gangbusters. And now we've come full circle and set up a women's foundation, which is run by my colleague Avni Shroff here, and essentially to work on, along with the UN, to work on programs for women artisans in rural sectors and really bringing them into the mainstream through the e-commerce platform, training, etc. And of course, women's leadership, women's entrepreneurship, and various initiatives. So we're very excited about what we do. And women for me has been a subject of passion in the sense that if you look at the 2023 Nobel Prize winner, Claudia Golden has talked about a model which she calls the curve model of women working in the workforce, which is every civilization, every economy goes through 3 phases. The first phase, which happens in sub-Saharan Africa, is where everybody is so poor that everybody without exception has to work. So women all work. There's no question of division of labor between men and women. Everybody throws in their hand. Then a relative period of prosperity comes, which is, by the way, happened many, many times in many parts of the country in India, when people start earning more money, and then all the social norms kind of kick in. And the father-in-law tells the bahu, saying, you stay at home, the husband is earning enough money, so we don't want our bahu to go out of home. So the woman actually starts staying back at home. And there's a whole phase that she talks about where women don't work at all. And then true emancipation, true prosperity happens where women say, look, it's my right to work. Okay, and I will work and compete on equal terms with all the men. And I think in many parts of India, that's what we're seeing happening, which is why we said we must set up this new foundation to really help this process. My guru in this area has been KV Kamath in ICICI. Some of you will remember that Mr. Kamath actually brought 7 or 8 amazing women to lead roles in the corporate sector, right from Lalita Gupte and then of course Chanda Kochar, Renuka Ramnath, who now runs one of the most significant private equity firms, Shikha Sharma, and so many others. I want Kalpana Morpuria. There are about 7 people who have really shown in different communities, and they were all mentored by Mr. KV Kamath. So it kind of struck me because when I took over, when I first moved to Pune in 2001, and we started building the company, like any other company in this country, out of 13 people in senior management, 1 was a woman. It's almost like a token, 1 woman will be the thing. And of course, she was the company secretary, not in any line role at all, etc. And I still remember Asha was her name. And 6 months after I took over, she came to me one day and said, Ganesh, I'm quitting. I said, now what happened? She said, no, yesterday I went home and my mother-in-law told me that, look, your son, who was in class 3 or 4, only got 97 in its arithmetic exam. If you had been a work-at-home mom or stay-at-home mom, you would have got 99. So I said, but why do you want to quit because of that? He said, no, I cannot take this insult from my mother-in-law. So then I started doing a bit of research on what are the 55 reasons by which women quit their jobs. And this is one of those. That women have to see themselves as superhuman beings, at work, at home, in society, everywhere else. And I think a lowering of expectations was required. We actually set up over a period of 2002 to 2016 an entity called Women for Excellence in Zensar. And I'm glad to tell you the results of that. I won't get into the boring details of what all we did. But when I left Zensar, out of 18 people in senior management, 15 were women, including our chief operating officer. Okay. And I'm still very proud of that. Okay, because that kind of shows that if you give enough support systems, and Lalita Gupta actually told me that, look, you have to support women, especially young women, through the time they get married, they have children, till they kind of settle and their children are whatever, 5 years, 6 years, whatever you think is an appropriate time frame. Then they stay in the workforce and they continue to contribute. Otherwise, they drop out. And today in Bank of America and in Google in the US, there is a department called Returning Women to just encourage women to come back into the workforce and not worry about seniority, not worry about various things, so on and so forth. So for me, this has been a subject of long-term research. In fact, Uma and I just published a book by Rupa Publications called Nari Shakti, where we actually researched right from Claudia Golden to various researchers and said what can be done in rural India, in colleges, to bring that agency, if you will, to young women and make them succeed. So our hope is that through Women's Prowess and through initiatives like this, if we can, and of course the amazing women you're going to hear on the panel, if we can motivate some of the women and many of the men in this room to really build this as an equal place for women, our life would be well served. So thank you very much and look forward to the rest of the program.
Thank you, Ganesh sir. Thank you so much. Sulaja ma'am, Ganesh sir does so much. Actually, sir does so much. Sometimes he gives me a complex that I want to ask him, sir, don't you ever get tired? I've seen this energy in sir at 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, evening 6:37. He still has the same energy. And so, sir, please continue inspiring us like this. It's my honor today to introduce the keynote speaker, who's someone very well known in the industry of brands, advertising, and the world, Mr. Ambi Parmeswaran. He has close to more than 45 years of experience, and he has built and shaped iconic brands like Santur, ICICI Bank, Wipro, ZTV, and many more. He has led FCB Ulka Advertising from a turnaround story to one of India's top agencies and is now a sought-after brand strategist, leadership coach, and founder of a brandbuilding.com. He's not just a brand expert, he's also a prolific author with 12 books to his name. He has spoken at TEDx stages, taught at premier institutes like SPJIMR and IIMs, and continues to inspire many marketeers across the globe. We'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Ambi Parmeswaran, who I'd like to call as a storyteller, a strategist, and a sponge for leadership lessons. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ambi Parmeswaran. Sir's presentation. Deepak presentation.
Good afternoon. First, let me thank Aruna Katara for inviting me here. She blocked my date like a month and a half ago, I think. And she also tempted me that, Ganesh will be here, and Ganesh is very keen on saying hi to you, so I couldn't say no. So I'm happy to be here and to listen to. I spent a lot of time with Vaidehi, your principal, your vice principal, understanding what the institute is doing. So happy to be here, and didn't know it was the 19th time you're doing this Prowess conference. I'd asked Aruna, look, what should I talk about? And she said, look, it's up to you. Whatever you want, you can talk. And so I've taken the liberty to talk about my new book, which is basically about basics of marketing. I'm calling it Marketing Mixology. There's a little story on how this name came about. I wrote a short 10,000 word article for Amazon Prime on negotiation, which about 6-7 years ago, and it turned out to be quite a big seller on Kindle. And then the next year they wanted me to write one more. I wrote one more on branding. That also turned out to be quite good. But the way the deal was, after the year, the copyright for the two pieces came back to me. And so now I had two 10,000 word pieces, and my publisher, Westland, said, look, you have two pieces, why don't you do something more? So why don't you write two more pieces? So I wrote, okay, on understanding consumers, and I wrote one more piece on communication, and then we had four pieces. So book was done. But then my editor said, no, these are not looking together. You have to rewrite everything. So I had to rewrite all the four, and finally I wrote all the four together. And unlike a typical marketing book, this book contains a little extra. It contains something on negotiation. We'll talk about it in a bit. And it also contains something on communication, which is not there in most marketing books. So I wanted a somewhat quirky title. And I was something got in my head, and I said, look, the title is going to be Marketing Masala Mix. And I said, the cover is going to be designed like a masala box, like Everest masala box. But my publisher said, no, that's not your style. You can't call it Marketing Masala Mix. So I said, okay, but I need a title. And I scratched my head. It's about a year and a half ago. And that was a time when ChatGPT was becoming popular. So I said, okay, let me learn how to use this new machine, new language. So I started learning how to write prompts. And finally, after about 4 attempts, in one of the 200 names which came from ChatGPT, I found the word mixology. And so I said, yeah, that's it. So I'll call the book Marketing Mixology. And then I said, if it's mixology, what is mixology? And I started reading about mixology. It's about mixing drinks, etc., etc. And I said, okay, ChatGPT, design a cover for me. 4 bottles on the cover and 4 titles: understanding consumers, branding, negotiation, and communication. So ChatGPT gave me a cover design, which was a very crude version of this. But then I gave it to the artist, and who managed to actually make it look nice like this. So the book just got published a month ago. And I know most of you are not in the field of marketing. That's why this book is relevant for you. Because this book is not for people who are hardcore marketing people. This is a very simple book, which you can probably read in about an hour and a half, and get to understand the fundamentals of marketing. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, and how many of you one day want to start your own company? Some of you? Yeah, there's one hand in the back. Okay. Okay. Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So by the time you finish the course, maybe some more hands will go up. Even if you're going to be in an engineering job, you may have to interact with the marketing people, right? So this book will give you some understanding of the basics of marketing. So in my talk, which will take probably 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about mixology and marketing. What is mixology? And what does mixologists do? And what does marketing does? How are these two somewhat similar, right? So Who is a mixologist? Mixologist is a fancy new term given to a bartender. But you say that, the mixologist will kill you. Because they believe they are not bartenders. They are way beyond bartenders, right? So what I'm going to talk about is some laws of mixology and how they parallel to the laws of marketing, or at least the chapters I've written about marketing. The first law of mixology, and the mixologists say, is that it's not about the drink. It's about the guest. So before a mixologist makes a drink, he or she first understands who is the guest, what is their taste, and how can I make something which will suit their taste, right? So call over. Someone's phone rang. Okay. So just as a mixologist says, it is the guest, not the drink. In marketing, we say it is about the customer. It is about the customer. And it is not a general demographic definition of, male, female, blah, blah, blah. So how do we understand customers? The first thing we have to do is to go and meet them. Meet them in terms of doing home visits, go check the retail outlet. So those of you wanting to start companies, this is something you have to keep in your mind. Who is your customer? What is the customer's pain point? And how can your product solve that problem for the customer? So when Maruti was under attack, and I was part of the attacking army, my client used to be Tata Motors for many years, and we were attacking Maruti. So was Hyundai, so was Daewoo. So one of the things which, under Jagdish Khattar they did was, we at Maruti have become too product focused. We start worrying about a product, reducing the weight, improving efficiency, but we have to go meet customers. So under that regime, they put in a rule that everyone working in Maruti at a supervisory capacity have to go and sell a car, which means they have to go and spend a day in a dealership interacting with customers and selling a car. This was a movement which they did across the company. And that changed the way the product design people, the manufacturing people, the finance people, the purchase people started looking at cars. So just like that, if you're starting a company, you have to understand who's your customer, and you got to go meet the customer, talk to the customer. I'm not saying don't do research. You may do research, but you also have to meet customers and understand customers. Under Gopal Vittal in Airtel, pretty much did the same thing, that you have to go meet customers, right? And understand what is their pain point before you start getting into one rabbit hole to say design a product, right? So meeting customers, extremely important. Next law of mixology is about ingredients, right? Every drink has to have a mix of ingredients. Some of them very common, some of them not very common. So while doing this book talk in Bombay, I had two mixologists, one a lady who's a Moet Hennessy brand ambassador, and another person, Prantik Haldar, who was the chief liquor innovation specialist from Bombay Canteen. Very interestingly, one of the ingredients Prantik talked about is something we don't even associate with drinking. Which ingredient is that? Salt. So I said, yeah, I know about drinking, right? So I said, yeah, Prantik, when I have a Bloody Mary, there is always salt. No, go. He said, no. Bloody Mary, you dip it in salt for a particular reason, because Bloody Mary is really what? Is all of your drinking age, na? Ye sab bache hain? Liquor not allowed in your campus, huh? Please. Just because I'm giving this talk, don't start carrying bottles into campus. You'll get thrown out. Don't complain to me later, huh? So he said, no, Bloody Mary, which is basically vodka and tomato juice, is more a tomato juice. It's not really a curated drink, and mixologists won't be caught dead making a Bloody Mary for you. He said, any drink I make for any customer, I always add a little bit of salt. It could be as little as 4 grains of salt. And he said, normally on my bar counter, I have a saline solution, 10% saline solution. And all drinks, I had a drop of the saline solution. What does it do? So in the first row, there was Mr. Ravikant sitting there, former vice chairman of Tata Motors. So he said, Mr. Ravikant, what's your drink? He said, whiskey. Whiskey with what? 1 spoon of water. That's it? Yeah. So I asked Prantik, will you add salt to Mr. Ravikant's drink? He said, yes. I will add a grain of salt to his drink because that grain of salt will bring up the flavor. And apparently, a friend of mine who was a chemical engineer was giving some funda about how the sodium ion and, ion will do something and therefore will bring out the flavor. I'm told some of the best sweet makers add a little bit of salt in the mix. You can't taste the salt in the sweet, but the salt brings out the flavor, right? So just the simple salts can make your drink taste, but even if it is whiskey soda, right? Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. Not allowed. Okay, not allowed. Good.
Nobody is going to try this.
Yeah, not allowed. Not allowed. Okay. You're not even going to talk about it. Okay, no. Right. But the fact is,
You can only listen to Ambi sir. You can't
yeah, and you can go home and tell your dad or mom, I can make your drink much better.
So we have a meeting.
All I need a little bit of salt. Okay, and Vaidya Himayam has told me it's okay. I can add a little bit of salt.
So we have a PTA coming up. So we'll have parents asking, send them to teach engineering. Why are they coming back with mixology?
It's chemical, it's chemistry, it's chemical technology. I mean, go and do search. What does a little bit of salt do to the flavor? And you may know, actually you may find out that your mom adds a little bit of salt to the kheer she makes. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
She do.
Yeah. Right? So similarly in branding, there are all these various ingredients which go into making a successful brand. Right? And the myth around branding is very expensive. It's only meant for big companies. It's a very, very long-term thing. I'm starting a small company. Why should I worry about the brand? The fact is you should start worrying about the brand on day one. Because whatever you do today will, if you don't plan it well, will tomorrow come and bite you in the back. Right? So please understand branding on day one. And in the book, I've explained a very simple what I call a brand building pentagon, which contains 5 steps. Brand appraisal, which is there a scope for a brand to be launched in this category? Brand definition, what do I want to position the brand as? Will it be for freshness? Will it be for beauty? Will it be for fragrance if it's a soap? What is the brand articulation? How do I present the brand to the consumer? What will be the brand measurement? How will I measure the success of the brand? And what will be the brand expansion? So I've got one brand here called Oreo. Those of you, how many of you have tasted Oreo biscuit here?
Everybody.
Okay, everybody. Wow, right.
Twice, thrice.
Okay, so Oreo is a brand which my sister agency launched in India. It's an outstanding success. But there is a little bit of that salt in this Oreo. What is that salt in this pack? What is it? Even marketing experts can try to answer that. What is that salt? Actually, a lot more than salt here. This brand here in India has the Cadbury logo on top. Cadbury is not a company which originally made Oreo. Oreo belongs to a company called Kraft General Foods. Kraft actually acquired Cadbury globally. And the company name got changed to Mondelez. So when they were launching Oreo in India, and it was Mondelez, which owns Cadbury, was launching Oreo in India, they said they told the parent company, Oreo is an unknown brand, Cadbury is a very well-known brand. We want to put the brand name Cadbury Oreo. Kraft was aghast, saying, we bought your company. We bought your company, right? So you guys can't tell us that you'll put your name on our brand. Oreo is the largest selling cookie in the world. And you're telling me you need to put Cadbury on Oreo? How dare you? How dare you say that? So the team in Mondelez India was a good team, Anand Kripalu and Chandramouli. So they said, boss, this is going to be a problem. We have to prove it to them. So they actually did research. They did research, a plain Oreo pack and an Oreo pack with Cadbury on it. And they actually found consumers to a large number, maybe 40-50% more, said they will buy a Cadbury Oreo rather than a plain Oreo. With that data, they went to Chicago, they convinced the head office, and the head office finally reluctantly agreed to put Cadbury. So it looks very trivial. I mean, those of you who've seen an imported Oreo pack, just look, you will not see Oreo, Cadbury on it. Whereas in India, every pack of Oreo you buy, you will see Cadbury on it. And I think over the years, they've slowly reduced the size of Cadbury. Because today, Oreo has become big enough, and tomorrow they may drop Cadbury from Oreo. But the fact is, that little salt made your drink taste better. That little Cadbury made Oreo taste that much better, right? So every single thing matters in brand building. Okay, let's go to the third law of mixology. Third law of mixology is about serving. How do you serve? How are you serving it? What kind of presentation do you make, right? The surprise, the delight, all that about the drink. Now, in marketing, in selling, we have what is known as negotiation. So negotiation is a topic which doesn't get covered in any marketing book. I've included a full chapter on negotiation because whichever field you're in, even if you say, I'm not going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to be working, doesn't matter. Understand the principles of negotiation. Negotiation doesn't mean fighting for more money. Negotiation means understanding the other party, understanding where they're coming from, and figuring out how you can get a better deal. And very often, it is win-win. Both of you can win and go beyond win-win. So here is an interesting story from the US. Theodore Roosevelt, who was he? He was one of the presidents of America. Not the current one, unfortunately. Right? Okay. So he was standing for president. And his campaign manager found a nice photograph. And he decided to print 3 million leaflets with that photograph on it. After printing was done, someone asked the campaign manager, you use this photograph, which was taken by this photographer. Have you taken the permission of this photographer before using this photograph? The campaign manager said, oops, no. So now if you go tell the photographer, you're going to use the photograph, he's going to ask you for a lot of money. Or alternatively, you can reprint 3 million leaflets, which will cost you $3 million approximately. So what are you going to do? Reprint or ask the photographer? The campaign manager, as we know, many campaign managers, political campaign managers are very wily, right? Very, very smart. So he said, the photographer is not here. He's in some other town. I have some information which he doesn't have. So let me try something. So he sends him a telegram. Theodore Roosevelt presidential campaign is starting. Whosever photograph we use in the leaflet, we're going to print 3 million leaflets. Whosever photograph we're going to print in the leaflet will get tremendous publicity. Would you like us to use the photograph you've taken of Theodore Roosevelt in the leaflet? And how much will you pay us for it? The poor photographer replies, saying, thank you, I'll be honored, but I can only afford to pay $250. So the campaign manager says, okay, done. So he would have cost $3 million. He ended up getting $250. This apparently is a real story, right? This really happened. So what was happening here? What was happening was the fact that the campaign manager had information which the poor photographer did not have. And in negotiation term, we call this information asymmetry, right? So if you have information asymmetry, you can trade it for more, right? And that's an example, and there are many more such examples in the book as you can go through if you read the book. So that's the third law, which is negotiation. The fourth law of mixology is about messaging. What kind of message does the mixologist give to the customer who's sitting in front of him or her, right? What kind of story are you going to tell about what all you mixed and how it's such a unique tasting product, right? And in marketing, we talk of communication. In corporate life, we talk of communication. Today, there are probably 3,000 or 6,000 or 7,000 messages coming at you. Your message has to stand out. How do you make it stand out? Right? You have to blend strategy, creativity, and consistency. You have to understand whether it is one-on-one or one-to-many, like what I'm doing now, me talking to all of you. What is the brief? Who are the people? What is their interest? Am I satisfying them? And importantly, all of you will be writing, right? And some of you may be taking help from ChatGPT, but all of you will be writing, and you've got to write in a way the other party can understand. So there is this very simple gunning fog index. Any of you heard of this gunning fog index? What is it? No. So gunning fog index is a website. You can easily open it, and whatever you write, you can copy paste it on gunning fog index site. And Gunning Fog Index will tell you how many years of schooling you should go through to understand the text. So ideally, something like 7 or 8 is good. Something like 14, 15 is bad. 14, 15 means whoever to understand what you've written should have done postgraduate education, right? Whereas if it is 7 or 8, then 7 or 8 years of schooling you can understand. So, in fact, in that chapter, I've written this, and I've said that this chapter I put it through Gunning Fog Index, and I've scored an 8 on this. So, which means anyone with 8 years school education can understand this. So, it's important as far as communication is concerned. Who's your target audience? What are you saying? Is it simple enough for them to understand? Everyone cannot be Shashi Tharoor, right? There's only one Shashi Tharoor, and everyone cannot aspire to be Shashi Tharoor, right? So keep your stuff simple, write simple language so that everyone can understand. So this is the marketing mixology in one slide, which is first is understand your consumer, understand your customer, get out of your office, go talk to them. Those of you wanting to startups, go talk to your customers, get data to information to insight, right? Then you have to brew your magic potion, which is your branding. What are the 5 steps you're going to go through in order to make your brand stand out in that clutter? What is that little salt you're going to add? What is that little Cadbury logo you're going to add to make your brand stand out? Third, learn to sell smart. learn the art of negotiation. Whether you're negotiating for VC money, whether you're negotiating to get an increment, or whether you're negotiating to sell your product to a corporate customer. Learn the art of negotiation. And lastly, fourth, the world is full of a lot of noise and the noise is increasing. So you got to understand how to communicate one-on-one, how to communicate in the written form, the Gunning Fog Index, how to communicate one-to-many, and how to communicate in mass media through what we call integrated marketing communication. So there are multiple tools and techniques I've explained in the book, which you can access. I hope the book will be available. Is it available? No?
Yes,
It's come?
outside. The stall is in.
Stall has come? Okay. Can we borrow 3 copies of the book?
Yeah, sure.
I want to do a small thing. So what I want to do now with Vaideki is I want to request Ganesh and Amrita to come and formally launch the book in Pune. Aruna had agreed to do that, so you better come and do the job. Come.
Sorry. Yes.
So we had the formal launch of the book. Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you, Amrita. Right. So let me just close with a few. All my talks I end by blowing my own trumpet a little bit. Why not? Right. So these are my books. There are 12 of them, as you can count. Many of them are on branding. There are 2 books. One on leadership lessons and one on rejection, bouncing back from rejection. Since Ganesh said that little story about Jawaharlal Nehru, I will take a couple of minutes to tell a story about, he told a story about Indira Gandhi. So I'll tell a little story about Indira Gandhi's father, Jawaharlal Nehru. Again, it's a real story. So my grandfather in Chennai had donated his house to be converted into a maternity home and a child care center. He had donated it to the Municipal Corporation of Chennai. Very large house, I think 3-4 grounds. And this was accepted by Kamaraj. It was converted into a thing. And then I think 6 months later, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was coming to Chennai. And Kamaraj, who was the Chief Minister, wanted my grandfather to meet Jawaharlal Nehru. So my grandfather had a business which was in the Central Station area. So I remember I was a small kid, probably 6-7 years old. And we were told that Jawaharlal Nehru's cavalcade will pass that road and the car will stop and my grandfather would garland Jawaharlal Nehru. Those were the days when the Prime Minister of India used to travel in an open top car. One of those American car without, so he used to be standing and waving, right? So we were all waiting in the road and he's standing and waving and the car went. It didn't stop. So we were upset. The car didn't stop. My grandfather said, it's okay. I talk about it in my book on rejection. It's okay. I mean, I didn't want to garland him. Kamaraj wanted me. It's okay. He's got other things to do. But my uncle was getting angry, they insulted us, blah, 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 blah. So general anger in the room. My grandfather is saying very peacefully, no problem. Half an hour later, a cop van came and said, we are sorry. It was our job to stop. We didn't stop. Is it okay if we stop him on his way back? But you have to wait for 2 hours. He's addressing a meeting. On his way back, we will stop the car. And so my grandfather said, okay. So on the way back, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's entourage stopped. He got out. My grandfather met him, garlanded him, and we were happy. Right? So amazing story. I was struck by this, that, almost the same thing, right? Father, daughter. So my grandfather didn't start shouting, saying he didn't stop. He said, it's okay. These things happen. Fine. So I've written a whole book on that. Many stories in that book. A book called Spring, which is Bouncing Back from Rejection. So all of you young people, the book was actually triggered by a talk I gave at Bhopal, when someone in the audience asked me, when I spoke my other book, you've done this IIT and IIM and all this nonsense, right? We are all here. We are very scared. What is going to happen to us? You seem to have had everything on your platter. And I said, no, I didn't. I've got rejected by various companies. I got rejected in my jobs. I got, thrown out of companies because, they didn't like what I did. Sulaja, I don't think threw us out, but, other clients have thrown us out. So don't worry. You get rejected. That's part and parcel. Learn from your rejection and learn to get better. So these are my 12 books. I'll quickly finish. I'm running ahead. I've got 2 podcasts running. One is called a Sponge Podcast. 24. How many of you listen to podcasts here? Okay, good show. All right. So there's Sponge, and I've also done a podcast on brand warfare in India. My columns appear in Business Standard and Economic Times and Hindustan Times. And of course, these are some of the brands I've handled: Tata, Amul, TCS, Abbott, etc. So you can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. So with that, let me thank all of you for your patient listening. And if those of you want to buy the book, books are available. They have finally arrived. They should have come before I started. But this traffic in this little junction today was a bit of a disaster. But they are here. Those of you who want to buy can buy and enjoy the book. So thank you very much once again for inviting me. Thank you.
Okay. We now move to the actual highlight of today's event, which is the panel discussion. Can I request the students to settle down over there? Yeah, thank you. Which is a panel discussion, and for that we've brought together a remarkable group of women who are not just shaping narratives but are transforming realities. And to lead this conversation, it is my privilege to introduce our panel chair, and as I call out, I request you to come on to the dais. We begin with Dr. Uma Ganesh, who's a thought leader in the field of skills, digital transformation and education. Uma ma'am has held leadership positions across corporate, academic and policy making platforms. She's a regular columnist in the Financial Express and has been instrumental in building forward-looking initiatives that combine business excellence and social impact. Please welcome Uma ma'am to the dais. Our first panelist is Ms. Sunanda Mehta, who's the resident editor at the Indian Express, Pune, and an accomplished author. With a career spanning decades in journalism, Sunanda has consistently brought to the forefront stories that matter through the lens of clarity, courage, and conscience. Her writing reflects a deep commitment to truth, society, and empowerment of voices that are often unheard. She also brings a literary touch to this panel, having authored compelling biographical work that blends fact with human depth. Please put your hands together for Ms. Sunanda. Next, we welcome Dr. Shona Nag, one of India's most respected oncologists who is associated with Sayadri Super Speciality Hospital. Dr. Nag is not only a senior medical professional, but a relentless advocate of women's health and cancer care. Her compassion, approach, and cutting-edge medical expertise have impacted thousands of lives. She continues to lead the efforts to make cancer care more accessible, more humane, and more helpful. Please put your hands together for Dr. Shona Nag. Next, joining us is Ms. Kiran Grewal, who is the CEO of Gary & Sons Organics Private Limited and the outgoing president of the Rotary Club of Pune Riverside. Kiran is a spirited leader who blends business acumen with community impact. Under her leadership, the Rotary Club has launched numerous initiatives, particularly around the youth engagement, women empowerment, and sustainable development. She brings with her a refreshing blend of energy, sympathy, and enterprise. Please welcome Ms. Kiran. And finally, it is with great respect and admiration that I welcome a name who is synonymous with visionary leadership and innovation, Ms. Sulaja Firodia Motwani. She is the founder and CEO of Kinetic Green, a pioneer in India's electrical vehicle revolution. Sulaja stands at the crossroads of technology, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. Her journey is one of the bold decisions, deep-rooted values, and courage to challenge convention. She has not only redefined mobility in India, but has also inspired countless women to lead with purpose. It is an absolute honor to have you here with us. Thank you for gracing the panel. Please welcome Ms. Sulaja. And now, I have the honor, I'd like to hand over the discussion to Uma ma'am to take the engaging conversation, reimagining India from passion to success. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Vaidehi. It's indeed my honor and pleasure to be with all of you on this occasion where we are celebrating women's success, women's prowess. And as has been the case over the years, it has been a real pleasure to partner with I2IT to bring out this edition of Women's Prowess year on year. So this year, I'm even more excited and elated on account of the fact that all these four ladies that you see on this platform, I have had the good fortune of making friendship with them, interacting with them on several occasions, and therefore I have had the privilege of getting to know them a little bit personally, professionally. But today I'm excited because we are going to talk about a very different theme, blending with their personal careers and personal journeys. As all of us are aware, we are all talking about India's milestone of becoming a $5 trillion economy. And the whole country is talking about it, economists, policymakers, industrialists, and even the common man. We're all eagerly looking at how do we get to that goalpost very soon. And even internationally, every country is looking at how can India play a lead role, given that we have demographic dividend as a key advantage. They're all looking at, all of you here, the young people here, how are you going to play a role in even enabling those countries to meet their growth trajectories with India being able to keep moving forward. Now, in this story, in this journey of India getting to the next milestone of growth and success, there is a very, very big role for women in particular to play. If we look at the population of the country, almost 50-50, you can say, men versus women in terms of composition. But when we look at the percentage of women who are in the workforce, particularly in the formal workforce, you would find that their contribution to GDP is less than 18%. And if you look at the informal sector, almost 93% in the informal sector, their contribution again is increasingly that of men. And in the rural context, you're beginning to see that women are coming into workforce more. That is because men are moving away to urban locations. And in the urban locations, if you look at women who are continuing to be with the formal employment, as Ganesh briefly touched upon in his initial speech, we find that at the entry level in the IT industry, for instance, almost 50%, we are finding women entering into the workforce. But after about 4-5 years at the supervisory level, you find that that number has come down to 25%. And finally, when you look at the CXO level, we have less than 1% women at the top of the business. So against this sort of a background, when we are thinking about reaching new milestone and India wanting to move to that stage of growth and success, women have to come forward and play a key role. Unless and until we manage to get the best out of the women and their ability to contribute towards the GDP, we will not be able to achieve those ambitious goals. So against this background, we have 4 successful women, and we are going to now hear from them. How is it that despite all the challenges that we keep hearing, there is maternity, there are family pressures, there are societal pressures, and so on and so forth. Despite all of that, there are a few women who manage to continue to build on their careers, not only build on their careers, but make a significant mark in their careers. So I am really privileged to present these 4 women, and I'm going to request each one of them to share a few vignettes from their life journey. What is it that motivated them to pursue the career that they decided to embark upon? They must have also experienced some challenges along the way. And how did you overcome those challenges? And what is really the success mantra for your life, for your success, for your careers? So may I start with Dr. Shona Nag. She has got some very interesting facets to talk about. Over to you, Shona.
So hi and good afternoon, everyone. I was just thinking of what I was going to say when Uma was introducing the topic. And I'm perhaps the oldest amongst the panelists. It's not been an easy journey. I was 8 when I knew I wanted to become a doctor, and the person who pushed me was my mother. She was the first non-American or non-white student in Gettysburg, Philadelphia, in America. She went there on a scholarship. She then started doing journalism in Columbia University, but she wasn't allowed to work after marriage. So very bright individual who, there were no jobs. People wouldn't hire her because in those days, all the people who were controlling the jobs were my dad's friends. And they said, why do you need to work? So it was very different back then. When I knew I wanted to become a doctor, I luckily got into BJ Medical College. Believe me, from St. Mary's School and from Ferguson, it was a huge cultural shock. We spent 5.5 years in MBBS. That was fine. But then you had to live for 3 years in the hostel. You had to carry newspapers to the library, otherwise you were bitten by bed bugs. And what we went through, only we know. And when I look back, I think it's only my passion for medicine that took me forward. Cut short to oncology. There was no specialty in my time. This was 35 years ago. There was no degree offered at Tata. It was just experience. So actually, I lost my dad to lung cancer. I wasn't an oncologist then. I was just a doctor. So that's what got me into thinking that maybe I should treat cancer, because there was no modality to treat dad at that time. There were very poor facilities, Pune and Bombay. And unfortunately, I did get pregnant, but couldn't carry a child. And that's when I said, the signal is there. I need to study more. So much against my in-laws' horrors, I went off to Bombay. And I compromised because I went on a Monday morning, had a Deccan Queen pass, came back on a Friday evening. Saturday, Sunday, I made sure I cooked enough and put it in the freezer for Milan, my husband. Did that for a year and a half. And then I came back and started the unit at Inlax Hospital. After 3 years, I realized I didn't know very much. And I got an offer from Australia. My in-laws were supportive, but very scared. My mother was freaking out. My husband supported me. I took my 3-year-old daughter, went off to Australia. Luckily, the creche was part of the hospital. You drop her there and go straight in, and they take care of her 8 to 4. Milan would come every 3 months. And a year and a half later, my in-law called me back and said, now enough, now come back. So I came back. Yes, it's been tough being a woman, but I feel that we women have an added dimension when it especially comes to patient care. I wouldn't have exchanged this for anything in the world. And enjoying what you do and doing what you love is fantastic. It's never been about the money. It's been about the service and making difference to somebody's life. And I did have the choice to stay back in Australia. And many people don't know this, but Milan and I actually got a permanent residency back then, thinking we'd move to Australia. But when I realized the impact I would make back home, and there I was just one of 30, 40, 50 oncologists. And in Pune, there were 2 medical oncologists at that time. So when I realized that this is a country where you just look around and you can serve. I mean, the purpose that you can have here, you can't have in any other country. So that's what brought me back, and I've enjoyed my journey. I'm now a teacher, researcher, and I work out of Sahyadri in Ruby Hall. I've also had the pleasure of my children being my biggest champions. And they've been very, very encouraging with work. And they're so, so proud about everything I do. It's been fabulous. And the love of my patients just keeps me going. So, yeah.
Fantastic to hear that, Shona, your passion and grabbing the opportunity that came your way and being persistent and caring for the family, the society, your patients. It's a phenomenal story. Thank you for sharing that with us. May I now move to Kiran? Kiran is absolutely a Wonder Woman. She supposed to be living in Pune, but she runs a factory and a business out of Ludhiana, and part of her family is actually in Dubai. How do you manage all of these constituents in your family and business? And on top of all of this, she has been a very busy president of Rotary Club too. So how did you manage this sort of a multitasking the whole of not just last year, but practically for better part of your life?
I think we're always inspired by women around us. I think you're one inspiration for sure. I've always received a lot of support from the family, lot of support. So like I said, women mainly. My mother was very, very supportive. And I think a lot of strength that most of us, even my sister and I both have it, comes from my mom. Again, that would then kind of transcend to my grandmother, who was very strong as well. And we've never actually looked at it as a challenge, it just needs to be done, something like that. So having been brought up in Dubai, it was a very privileged upbringing. And one of the reasons for moving back to India was to learn how to do much more than, and probably understanding that there is more to life. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just something that you do and take inspiration. And because of the passion that we have for service, anything is possible. It's because, you want to get it done, you want to do it the right way. For me, joining Rotary, I think I've been a Rotarian for 7 years now, was a calling of sorts. And the kind of projects that we've done, the kind of women I feel that we have supported, especially for livelihood, has been, that's what charges you, that you want to be participative, you want to be able to do more. So the factory that we have in Ludhiana is predominantly, I think we're around 85% women on the production floor. And the love that I see, on the production floor, and the passion that they have for contributing back to their household is what just keeps us going. And we want to contribute more, be able to give them a better and more comfortable atmosphere. And we feel proud that whatever that they're producing, has impact. So for me, yeah, that's the force.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was really awesome. The support that you gain from your family and the support you in turn give to other women who are working with you, it's truly amazing. Turning to you, Sunanda, would like to hear from you your life journey and would like to know whether you got your inspiration to become such a phenomenal journalist. Not just a journalist, she is now Indian Express and Sunanda have become now totally inseparable for us who live in Pune and who have watched how the newspaper has caught the imagination of people when there is so much of competition and so much of noise that is going on around us. Over to you, Sunanda. We'd love to hear your story.
Thank you, Uma, and also for your kind words. And hello, everyone. So much like what Dr. Shunanak said, that I think I also knew right from the beginning that I wanted to be a journalist. Much of it came from the fact that I was quite terrible with science and maths. I had a standing arrangement with my classmates. They would do my maths homework and I would write everyone's essays. So that being so, that's what I continued my education. But in college, I did history honors. My father was in the army, so my schooling was in all parts of the country. But I went to college in Delhi in LSR, and by some twist of fate, I did very well in history in my 12th. I topped the board, and I thought, no, not journalist. There's a historian deep inside me, which I've not recognized. So I did history honors. In the first year, I realized there was no such thing. I was destined to only play with words and not too much of history. So I finished my college, and again, I got through a very good journalism institute, and I got through B.Ed also in Delhi University. But my parents thinking that, I'm from an armed forces background, and if I get married in the army, probably I would only be able to teach because you keep changing your location every 2 years. And they kind of propelled me towards B.Ed. I did it as one of the most unhappy students, I think, in that college. But while I was studying, I started freelancing for a magazine like Femina. After passing out, I also taught for a year. But then I decided it's time I really listened to my heart, and I did my journalism here in Pune at the Rana Day Institute. And I joined Magna Publishing. My salary as a teacher, I still remember in 89 was like 1,700, but I became a journalist at rupees 1,250, which also my boss said, I'm giving you the moon, which I didn't mind because finally, when you are doing something that you love, nothing else really matters. I still remember my first month I worked, and at the end of the month when I got my salary, I was like, wow, I've had such fun and I'm getting paid for it too. And this is really what I would urge each of you to choose as your career, which you enjoy doing every minute. Yeah, but of course, journalism is a 24/7 news cycle. And I still belong into the era when families were not used to women getting up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and going because there's a story. And much like Ganesh said, there was a phase of emancipation of women. I was caught in that phase too. I wanted to, in fact, a little story here. So I remember when I got married, my mother also told me that, you don't need to work. So why do you want to work? So I was like, no, I need to work. There for different reasons. And with a little bit of push and overcoming the resistance which everyone in the family had, I decided I will work. We had help. So I said, you are there to supervise the help. And so there's no need for me to supervise and you to supervise me supervising the help. Let's not, get into that. So I worked. I did features initially because then you get up, at 6, 7 you can come home, unlike news when there's no knowing when you come home. Very often people say, why resident editor? So I said, because as an editor, your resident is your office, your residence. You don't go much home. So I continued working. And after a few years, I remember my mother-in-law's friend came and she was sitting with her and she was talking about her daughter-in-law. And she said, it's getting very difficult for me to handle my daughter-in-law because she's interfering in everything I do. She'll ask, why is this thing here? Why is this thing made? And why we change the curtains? And I really don't know what to do. And my mother-in-law told a friend, you ask your daughter-in-law to go out and work. It's always better. So yes, we will find resistance. You have to find a way around it. No one wants you to become a rebel and protest, but generally, if you can always find your way around things if you are really, infused with the goal of working. And I think every woman should work. Economic independence is extremely important. Whether you are, I tell a lot of women, I go and address a lot of women in the marginalized section of the society, and I tell them, if you can't go out, it's okay. You sit, make pickles, you make papas, you do whatever. But have that bit of economic independence, which will always hold you in good stead. So anyway, now it's been about 30 years. I worked initially with Magna Publication. I was the editor of Citadel magazine. We started that. And then I moved on to Indian Express. And like Uma said, I've been there for about 25 years. I've left 3-4 times in between when my son was born and there were some other family matters, but I've come back. So they're also used to now a bad penny always returning. But why journalism? I would say it's really one of the most fascinating fields, even while today when media is grappling with a lot of fake news and the credibility is in question. I can say that it is still the most satisfying career because you do get a chance to change lives also. It depends on what you write. And there have been so many instances when one has written something which has changed the life of the subject. Later on, maybe I could tell you a couple of those stories also. But I would say this is one field, like when we are talking also of women, progress, and that's a subject very close to my heart. The first thing I did in journalism was a weekly column called Women's Voice. And even now, as an Indian Express editor, and because of it's also the ethos of the newspaper, we amplify the voices of a lot of women who are invisible in the society. People who are, in the marginalized sections of the society, who are grappling with a lot. It's one of the things we do regularly. And women in journalism have grown. The numbers have grown. And like, we were talking of how in IT, you said there are so many women, but they don't end up being so much in the field. It is similar. If you walk into a journalism institute, you'll find the majority of the students are girls. Yet, when it comes to journalism, the majority is always the male figure. But I like to believe it's changing. About 52% of the TV anchors are women, and many are there in the print media too. Maybe only 13 to 15% are in the top. But even that is now, that statistic is an evolving one. We have a lot of women in beats like sports and science, technology, politics. Earlier, we were always thought we would do the softer things like cookery and art and films. In fact, once when I was threatened by a goon about something I written against him, he came to the office with some bouncers and then he expected to find one man he could probably beat up downstairs. So he was very, very disappointed to find a woman that was just 5 feet. So, all his bravado kind of, it was punctured. And when he told me, he's saying, Madam, क्यों लिखते हो ये सब? आप लिखो ना fashion show, cookery. So it's not really the family or societal, you have to break those stereotypes. but it's not difficult. You just set your heart to it and you do it, and that's what keeps you in a profession like mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunanda. So from Sunanda, we can learn that where there is a will, there is a way. And she has demonstrated to herself and to all of us time and again that she has listened to her heart and has been persistent in pursuing her career. And particularly when, Sunanda, you spoke about giving space for women from marginalized background and trying to make them also feel that they can make a difference. That is, in fact, a very significant aspect, something that we should all remember. And I have experienced this in our foundation where we work with such women. Almost, let's say, 10,000 odd women, we have enabled them to become micro-entrepreneurs. And all of them have struggled against several odds to remain steadfast in their journey and have tried to make a difference to themselves and to their families. So what we are therefore now veering towards is the fact that there is nothing impossible, whether a man or a woman, if we set our hearts to achieve that goal. And now I'm going to request our last speaker, Sulaja Firodia, who has broken several grounds. She has not only been an entrepreneur, but entrepreneur in a very difficult, challenging, and the future for this country and for the world. So what really motivated you, Sulaja, to enter into this sort of a domain? And what continues to motivate you to keep building? She has built businesses, she has sold businesses, now she has started this new venture. So it's going to be very exciting for all of us to hear your story.
Thank you, Ma. A very good afternoon to all of you. And first, let me congratulate I2 IT and GTT Foundation for this wonderful function. I must say that I'm here first out of my deep respect for Prahlad Chhabria ji. He was on the board of kinetic engineering for many years, and I've had the privilege of seeing two people who are completely passionate about their work, Mr. Chhabria and my father, for whom work is worship. And I think from them, I inherited my current workaholic pattern. I'm now a certified workaholic. So I dedicate that passion for work to him and to my father. And of course, my dear friends, Ganesh, Uma, Aruna, very happy to be here with all of you, and thanks for the invitation. Kudos to my fellow panelists. The stories are truly inspiring. Very happy to really have had the chance to hear it. Coming to me, I think, let me bring an angle of entrepreneurship because that's what my life has been all about. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. It's sort of runs in the blood, I can almost say. Grew up around my grandfather, my father, who were staunch nationalists and very committed to bringing mobility solutions that would change and serve the society. So, family of very highly elevated mindsets. With this, my grandfather, who was known for his passion for excellence, engineering, for making India very early days, for being a very steadfast, truthful, and a very simple man, but of great achievement as an entrepreneur. My grandmother, who was Gandhian and a staunch nationalist, in her very early age, she went to Madhubani camp of Gandhiji and stayed there for months during the freedom struggle. And in fact, even went on a hunger strike when she was 15 because her father, requested her to stay home and look after the family because they lost some members during a plague. But she went on a hunger strike for 15 days saying, I will do both. I will continue my education and I will look after the home. My father, of course, who was a great engineer and Padma Shri for his contribution to the world of automobiles, and my mom, who's herself a doctor, a pediatrician. At our home, always there was discussion around the country, its progress, what we can do for the country, for the society. a lot of emphasis on education and never gossiping about other family members and talking about property and money. So I think that kind of atmosphere, and why I'm bringing this to all of you, because I think we are more often than not products of our environment. So as all the young people here move into their careers and make their families, I think it's a great lesson for me that, that kind of atmosphere is what really, I would say, sowed the seed in me for doing something for the country, of entrepreneurship, of enterprise. I went to the US, did my higher education. I worked there for many years. That was great experience for me to be an employee before I would eventually be an employer entrepreneur. US was always, many years ahead of the world in terms of use of technology, management systems, at least in the 90s. And that was great learning for me. I met my husband there, future husband. We started dating seriously. And when he proposed, I told him, look, this is all fine, but I'm going to go back to Pune because I'm going to be, part of Kinetic. It's my passion. That's what I'm going to do. Luckily, he did not call my bluff. And then eventually we both came back to Pune. And I've been part of now business enterprise Kinetic Group for last close to 30 years. 96 we came back. Learned the ropes. I've worked for the existing companies that are in the automotive business of Kinetic Group, Kinetic Honda, Kinetic Engineering. And that was great learning for me. But as Uma mentioned, I think what has been really exciting for me in the last 10 years is this new venture of entrepreneurship, which I have kind of started as employee number one. It's a company called Kinetic Green, which is now one of India's leading electric vehicle makers. We make a range of electric three-wheelers, both L3 and L5, passenger and cargo, electric two-wheelers where we've developed and launched an e-Luna, sort of rebirth of an icon, the Kinetic Luna, Chalmiri Luna. Everybody in the generation in the front may know, not in the back. And a range of scooters. And very recently, we've also just unveiled, in fact, just 2 days ago, a range of absolutely fantastic luxury electric golf and lifestyle carts in a joint venture with the Lamborghini family of Italy, where for the first time, we are going to make EVs in India, but for the world. So it's kind of taking ahead the electric vehicle progress of country, but presenting it to the world. I'd encourage you to look at any of my social media handles. Look at the vehicles; they're absolutely stunning and fantastic. So this has been a great experience, and I would say that why it's great, why it's special, for 2-3 reasons. One is because it's a chance for me to really add to the legacy of the family, which I'm very proud of. It's sort of my own way to contribute and take it ahead. I tell my team that when the history of the Firodia family or Kinetic Group will be written, the green page will belong to us. So we have to make it glorious. So sort of my own signature. I started this company as employee number one, got a lot of support from my father, encouragement, but I invested my own capital, built my own team, a completely new approach to business, which is asset light, which is very unheard of in automotive. It's always been about big factories and huge investments, but here we took a totally different approach to technology, R&D, and building a network of EV ecosystem players and suppliers to whom we trained and gave our technology to, build the subsystems for us. So the company itself is asset light, and that makes it very flexible and nimble, a different approach altogether. Being one of the pioneers in the whole EV space, which is a very important space now. Of course, today it's very fashionable to be in electric vehicles. The world is recognizing that the future of automotive, technology is now green. It's electric, hybrid, hydrogen, whatever is green. But 10 years ago, that was not the case. There were certainly more non-believers than believers. In fact, my own brother said, Didi, you're so talented. Why you're wasting your time in this EV? Iska kuch hone wala hai nahi. But I had a belief. My grandfather told me that, you have to see where the society is going. And if the world is going green, then you need to align. For example, in my case, I thought I must align my business strategy with that. That's the future. And secondly, if you looked at the way young generation is using products, it's all about gadgets and connectivity and intuitive products. And existing automobiles are none of that. They're neither green nor are they intuitive and connected and customizable. But EVs are. EVs are like tablets on wheels. You can get all the data. You can be easily connected. You can go autonomous. And there's more software and electronics in an EV than there is, mechanical parts. So I felt that the younger generation would definitely understand and love this technology, which is not just sustainable, but also intuitive and connected. And that's what is now coming true. But we did a lot of work, starting with policy, worked with the government and all the institutions like FICCI, SIAM, ACMA, NITI Aayog, MHI, to really be part of the strategy formulation for the country for electric vehicles. And here I'll just give one very important approach that we took differently. So when you say electric, people think Tesla, they think electric car. So the whole thinking, in fact, when I went for the first meeting that the government had called, they had Booz Allen as a consulting firm, and there was the whole auto industry, Honda and Maruti and Suzuki, Hyundai and all of these people, and there were no 2 and 3 wheeler companies. And they were all talking about cars. So I raised my hand, I said, well, what about 3 wheelers and 2 wheelers? So they looked at me as if I'm talking something completely, nonsensical. So they said, ma'am, are you interested in that? I said, yes. They said, okay, then you make a subgroup, you can, help us to think that through. So they were all thinking about cars. And a big change from there, when the new EV policy came, the government in India now focuses on electrification of 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers as its primary goal. Because the Indian transport sector is different. 80% people are using 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers and buses for their transport, unlike the West, where 80% plus people are using the cars. So the government's whole approach is something we impacted, saying green mobility for the masses and not just for the classes. So that was very satisfying. And then from there, building the supply chain, Make in India was always a philosophy. And I think that's been very satisfying. What also is very exciting for me is making the impact, green livelihoods at the bottom of the pyramid. Somebody rides an electric 3-wheeler, they have no fuel cost. So they take home much more money than they do in a petrol vehicle. So it's not just environment, but also green livelihoods. And putting India on the global map, as an aspiring EV leader, not just as a consumer, but also maker of EVs, very satisfying. And I think last but not the least, the role of women. I think we're talking about women prowess today. And as Uma mentioned, automobile industry has always been male dominated. Of course, we had that token company secretary that Ganesh mentioned, or the HR manager, but automobile had always low single digit women penetration. I think with EV, we are trying to change all that. Because as I mentioned, EV is more about software and electronics and less about mechanical engineering parts. So I'm very proud to say that in our group companies, which make EV aggregates, we make controllers, clusters, converters, motors. We have 3 different companies in that field. We have 100% women on the shop floor. And at Kinetic Green, which is the EV OEM, where we're making electric 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, now we have reached 50% women on the shop floor. And our e-Luna line, which is our, iconic, I would say, flagship in a way, we have 100% women on the shop floor making electric vehicles. And that's my example, but I think working beyond Kinetic, kind of promoting this thought process to women, that there are new fields, like in EV, in a way, is an entry for women into the automotive field. And there is a skill shortage, so take advantage of that. Not only in vehicle making, components, charging, software, ecosystem, so many areas, there is a skill dearth that is there. So we can take advantage. Similarly, fields like AI or others, new fields, we can really make a big impact. So that's very satisfying. So really enjoying this journey. And just to summarize, I think it's a journey of passion, perseverance, purpose, very satisfying. But of course, a lot of you may be thinking about being entrepreneurs yourself. So I would say the entrepreneurship is not really for the faint-hearted. It looks very glamorous from the outside. I'm doing my own thing. But there are many ups and downs, and there are many challenges. And or the entire buck stops at you and your skin in the game is like everything. It's total. So please definitely make that jump, but get good experience before you, jump into entrepreneurship. But all the best. Thank you.
Bravo, Sulaja. Hats off to you for entering into this space and creating a niche for yourself. And what you said earlier as well, which is the atmosphere at home, the conversations that you've had with your families, which shaped your early days. But along the way, you have been resolute in terms of achieving your goal, and wish you the very best in terms of scaling even newer heights of success in the coming days. Now, when I entered this room a little while ago, I was very pleased to find that this audience has a mix of men and women. But in the last half an hour or so, I'm getting to be a little despondent because I'm finding some men there in the middle of this room possibly not interested and not really getting engaged and having some side conversations which are distractful. So may I request all of you to be respectful to the discussions, to the panelists who have taken precious time from their busy schedule to be with all of us. And while the conversation is about women, their challenges and their success, let's all remind ourselves that we are working in a society where men and women, we are supposed to be equals, and we are trying to together build the society. And we are going to have co-workers, we are going to have bosses, we are going to have peers, subordinates, men and women. So this conversation we are having here is not only for women, it's supposed to be fodder for all of us to think about. Similar challenges men may also be facing. Similar challenges you are going to be hearing from women colleagues, and how are you going to handle such challenges and advise them or support them, and support in your own families. So I'm just requesting all of you to pay attention for some more time, and I'm sure you will find this really meaningful, not just for today, but for the years to come. So moving to the next segment of our discussion, I was very enthused to hear Ambi Parameswaran talk about brand building, and the book that he has recently released, or rather it was released in front of us, the mixology and marketing that he spoke about. So that made me think about the brand in all of us. How do we build our own brands? And here we have 4 outstanding women leaders who have built their brands. So can I hear from each one of you, what is that salt that Ambi spoke about, or what is the essence of your own brand? Starting with Kiran.
That's an interesting question. I think for me, it would be persistence. Always, there are obviously challenges that do come. It's difficult. And so funny thing is, I'm a marketing student, right? So for me, sitting in front here and seeing the presentation was just like going back to college, and I wish I was back in college. And in terms of salt, I think for me, it has always been persistence. If you have a goal that you want to achieve, till the time it's achieved, I know it's not easy. Some days, some things obviously are not that tough, but in terms of entrepreneurship, achieving your goals with your brand, with your work, with the challenges that we have, like you were mentioning earlier, the different roles that I play. So I think that is also only achievable because of the persistence that I want to do this.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran. And brand is something that we all perceive or experience. And so from that perspective, if you were to talk about how have you made any conscious attempt to build your brand, how you would like yourself to be perceived by your customers, by your employees, by your friends, or has it come naturally to you? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure this is of interest to everybody here. We all think the way we dress and the way we carry ourselves and Today, there are many, many lectures on grooming and brand identity and how you present yourself in the social media. All of that, I'm sure all of you are paying a lot of attention to. But I think the salt that Ambi spoke about is extremely important for us all to think about. And how does it eventually get presented is also something that Ambi spoke about. Can you throw some light on that also?
So the thing is, I'm very shy by nature. But I think one of the main factors would be, I think, Mr. Ganesh getting me out of my comfort space, you know. But no, it's also taught me a lot in terms of having a voice. I think that is important, understanding that your voice should be heard because your opinion should be heard. And yeah, I've just actively worked on making sure that I try and be as articulate as I possibly can get in terms of my opinion when it comes to, obviously, because we've worked on a lot of social projects. Also in terms of the work, I normally would shy away from talking too much about the different kind of work that I do. But yeah, I would say that, it's active work. Every day is you wake up and you want to, kind of present yourself better. You want to be relevant to what is happening. So obviously, we're in the wellness sector. We create products which are for our everyday good, and it's important. So it's not only a question for me, it's never been about the grooming. For me, it's always the wellness within. So we, since I'm from the health sector, and so it's talking about health, the importance, especially for, I think women do not take health very seriously. And they would probably jump if someone else is unwell in the house. They would not do it for themselves. So I've learned that if I were to voice, right, that it's important to take care of yourself first, maybe this would help others to kind of understand that this is an important aspect of your life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sunanda, I'm going to come to you next because through your newspaper and earlier with Citadel, I'm sure you helped many companies build their brands. But I would like to hear from you, what has been your journey in terms of building your own equity and your own brand?
Okay, well, I belong to the media, so building your own brand is not too difficult. But the fact remains that as a journalist, you're really as good as your last byline. So as a journalist, the only way to build your brand is through your work. And that's one of the great advantages also of being in this field, that your work is out there. It's very transparent. What you're writing is there for everyone to see and judge and make a difference. And if journalism is your passion, like it was with me, you will get stories, that make a difference. I think I tell a lot of people that even in my career of 30 years, if I can count on my fingertips the stories that really, really made me feel glad I was a journalist, but they're normally enough. I could tell one or two. I remember some years ago when I was a reporter and we had this news that in FTI, this girl had been picked up overnight by the police, a girl from Nepal, and deported back to Nepal. And when we decided to do the story, there was a women's organization which gave us this news. So we decided to ask the police, and what we were told is that she was a spy. It is, and it was easily believable story that people from neighboring countries, it was a common thing. So they said, she was a spy, so she was deported back. But then we decided that there must be something more to it. So I went to FTI and I started talking to the students. And it seemed she had been married to a very powerful politician in Nepal, and the marriage had soured and she had left him. There was a lot of abuse in the marriage, and she had come to Pune, taken admission in FTI, and she was pursuing her course as a film editor. And he wanted her to come back, and he didn't want to let her go. And he had used his connections to get the police to actually arrest her and deport her. So we wrote her side of the story, The next day, there were diplomatic talks between India and Nepal. And there was, so her parents didn't even know she had come back to Nepal because she was under house arrest by the politician. She managed to fax a few letters, asking for help. And finally, the government intervened. She was set free. Her parents took her side, which they had not done till then. She came back to India. She got her divorce. She completed her course in editing, and she became a very well-known editor in the Hindi film industry. And much later, once when I met her, her name is Neetu Singh, not the actress, another one. And I asked her how she was doing. She was saying, whenever I count the angels in my life, I always think of the Indian Express. So there are moments like this that make it worth it. Moments like this that make you feel what you have chosen. There is, there's something more to it. Just your passion of wanting to write, just your passion of seeing a byline, in the front of the newspaper. You make a difference to people's lives, and there are a lot of stories like that. Just recently, a friend of mine, she won an award for an article she had done on, how the Sarup Bhatnagar Science Awards, one of the most prestigious awards in the country for science. And it's been there since 1958. And out of the 592 people who've been awarded, there were only 20 women. So she did a very nice piece called, and the Science Awards go to the men. It made a bigger difference, and I'm very happy to say after 22, there have been more women also who've been recognized in the field. So when you do stories that somehow, some way change things, I think that is really all the inspiration you need. That's what spurs you, and that becomes your inner salt. Just the the feeling of having done something beyond a byline, making a difference, and they are normally difference to individual lives. We talk a lot of big breaking stories. That's great. But then you are unable to follow those stories. You don't know after some time how things come back to, we are in that system. So a lot of time, even when you expose a lot of cases, somewhere, sometime, if you're not following them up, they will come back to what they were. But individual lives, when they're touched and changed, that's so deeply humbling and is so satisfying. As a journalist, that's all you really need to do.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's really heartening to know that while you're pursuing your career goals, you're doing this as a quote unquote as a job, but you also have the power to really make a difference, which is long lasting, impactful, and transformative. So thank you very much for sharing those experiences, Sunanda. Over to you now, Shona. You have chosen a profession where every day you're making a difference to a patient, to patient's family. But there must be special moments where you have gone beyond the calling of your profession, which might have added to who you are and what kind of a brand you have become. Can you share some snippets from your own experience?
It's just been pretty organic for me. And I think the biggest marketing people for me in commerce are my own patients. So the beauty is that even in cases where I've lost the patient, their relatives will still recommend me to other patients. And that's been the ultimate. And they'll always thank me. So I think it's word to word, word of mouth that has gone around. That takes very long to build a practice, unlike, you going to a doctor and he's sending you 10 patients. This is much slower, but it's very sustainable. And irrespective of whether you move hospital, you're pretty sure that, like, for instance, when I was headhunted by Sahyadri, and then more recently by Apollo, that's when I realized I was a brand. I didn't realize before that. But when I moved to Sahyadri, I didn't even think about, I told my patients where I was going and 90% of them followed. So it's quite amazing how they are so loyal to you. But now that we're talking on brand building and success, so I'm an avid disciple of Parthasarathi, and Milan and I have been studying for 20 years now, the Vedanta. And he says there are 3 C's to success. The first is concentration, where you focus, you hold the thoughts of your mind by the intellect on a single point to the exclusion of everything else. That helps you whether you're studying, whether you're working, whether you're doing a single project, do it with the utmost concentration. Do not get distracted. The second C of success is consistency. As mentioned, persistence is nothing but consistency. Do the same thing over and over again. And just like water goes through a path and makes a river, it will gather force. It will be a very forceful and effective action. And the third C of success is cooperative endeavor. You're never alone. You can never succeed alone. You take your team with you, you take your colleagues with you. They have helped you become what you are. So if you can involve other people and build teams, that is another way. And I've followed these three things, and it's really helped me in my life.
The three C's which helped you build your personal brand and equity. So over to you, Sulaja. In the man's world, literally, you have built brand Sulaja. What are your brand mantras, Sulaja?
So let me say that I have actually had two brands that I represent. One, of course, is Kinetic Green now, because we are B2C. So in a B2C, the corporate brand is very important because consumers, when they buy automobiles, it's a very involved purchase. Somebody out there is putting his or her many months' salary. Their family members are riding it. Safety is very important. It has to last long. They have to feel that this product will give me service. It'll last for many years. It'll be safe. So one is the corporate brand that we tried to build, and I think there we've kind of brought our legacy. We built on the legacy of Kinetic, which is all about bringing advanced technology, and in this case, electric vehicles, of course, is a completely new field with disruptive and advanced technology, but brought within the reach of the society in a very disruptive way. So the first Luna was sold for 1,200 rupees. It brought mobility to a whole generation. Kinetic Honda, of course, everybody knows, brought mobility to the urban India. So I think in Kinetic Green, we've kind of taken ahead the same DNA, new technology. EV is very disruptive, very futuristic, but democratizing EV is what keeps us, excited. They're bringing it within reach of the urban and rural India and making it accessible, not only in terms of price, but service, longevity, durability, to the consumers. So that's one. Coming to my own, space in terms of being a woman in the man's world, I think that it's been for me all about being of credibility and integrity. I think that if you try to, be very glossy or very fluffy, or I write my own social media messages. I do not have a, what do they call it? Handle. I do my own handles. I don't have I forget the, agency. Because for me, it's very important that what is being said, I am saying it. Maybe I don't have enough time to write long, eloquent messages. But it reflects me. And I think for me, it's been about credibility and integrity, and, being true to, people should be able to read and understand what I am. And also when I'm in a meeting with 40 men, when I open my mouth and I speak something, it should be something that is credible, that is consistent, taking from her, that is intelligent. So I think it's being about that. And I think that's really helped me. So I think I'm seen as a person who is hardworking, who's a professional, who's always been sincerely making a contribution and being credible, being honest, as opposed to, kind of having a very, how can I say, a fashion-oriented or a, I don't know the right word is, but not my work is what I think is I put out there as a credible way to present myself, rather than my appearance or the brands I wear or the things I own, or my very aggressive views on politics. I try to refrain from all that and just focus on being a credible member of this automotive sector. That's worked for me. There are, of course, some leaders who are very, how do I say, I don't want to use the word loud, but very opinionated, and some who are all about the gadgets they use and the cars they drive, but that's not me. But this is what has worked for me. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Silaja. You know, the last hour or so, we have heard all 4 successful women leaders here being so focused about what their choice of careers have been, the work that they do around their respective careers, and have been very honest in terms of sharing what their life journeys have been. And Aruna, I don't know whether you're following us remotely, you would have been really proud to hear the stories. And I know how passionate Aruna is in terms of organizing this event year on year. And today we have Amrita with us. She's again doing this with a similar kind of a focus. So on this note, let me pause here and request anybody from the audience, if you have specific questions for any of us here on the panel, we would have some time to take some questions. Vaidehi? Yes. We have some time to do that?
Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
Sure. Over to you, audience. Please do not feel shy. Every question, any question that you ask. Yes, I'm happy to see a male member of the audience putting out his hand first. Please go ahead. Yes, you are.
One question that I would like to ask is, you had a family business, and you transitioned from it to build your own brand. So how was that process for you?
I think I explained that for me, it was making, my own contribution. So definitely the experience that I gained in the family business, let's call it, helped me. And I was referring to that earlier too, for you, all of you as well. That it's very important to gain good experience before you jump into having your own venture. Of course, you have a few success stories which look very glamorous from outside. The IITians who have become unicorns in what seems 2 years, but that's not the truth. The truth is that every overnight success also takes 15 years if you actually go deeper into it. So I definitely benefited a lot from the experience I got, whether it was in the US or in the, being part of the family business. And that gave me the kind of maturity, or let's call it tenacity, or risk-taking ability, or problem-solving ability in business. Like it's, you're getting a new challenge problem every day. So having experience helps you to have that strength to deal with those. But then, I kind of carved my own niche using that and maybe learning from that. But in a totally different way. I could have started the EV company as a division of an existing business, but I said, no, it has to be a new business. It's a new field. It needs a new mindset. It needs new way of building the business model. It needs to be fresh. It needs to be disruptive. And I was employee number 1 and I got employee number 2, 3. There were challenges. When you are a part of an existing business, the ecosystem is so deep. But we have to build a new team, build new supply partners, raise our own funds. But I think for me, this second inning has been so satisfying. It's sort of, I feel like I have been able to, let's say, have my own signature in a sense. So for me, I learned a lot and then I could benefit from it. And that's been the great learning for me.
So I didn't start with the family business. I actually started with working. And I feel that is one of the most important things because it's one very grounding. Walking straight into your family business, especially at a young age, I don't think you're taken very seriously. And you're not taken seriously not only by obviously the staff who has seen you grow up in that environment. Also, you have a lot of learning to do. So it's always easier to learn in an environment that doesn't know you at all, and they make sure you learn, like you really, really learn. So I'm also of the same opinion. Walk in at least with, experience and knowledge, because whenever you're part of a family business, you do not have the privilege of learning. You get into the job and you're doing the work, right? And it's not possible to do the job if you don't know what you're doing exactly. So I actually started my career doing media. So I was in advertising. I have done media planning. I was in a completely different field. So taking all that marketing experience is what, when I got into the health sector, for me it was complete learning of health. Like, there were so many things that we take for granted, whether it's male health or female health, that is very, very important for me to learn. So all my entire education as well as the work experience is what helped me today do a better job. I hope we could answer your question.
May I just request for someone else to ask a question, and we can take up your questions outside. Yes. We have time for 2 more questions. Yes, Ipsita.
Actually, my question is to Sunanda. I recently helped a friend of mine to set up a media channel. And nowadays, you can set up a media channel by using a combination of X, Substack, and, news, basically the online platform, right? And as a part of the branding exercise, we studied a lot of the new age media personalities who are there, like, people like Ben Shapiro and, especially in the US. And interestingly, one of the things that we found out was that most of the women who had set up the media channels, a large part of their branding was around the sex appeal, which is really surprising, because you would think that we've crossed those boundaries and now it's all should be more about intellect. But especially in places like US and etc., when we did the whole research, we were surprised to find that. So, are we still living in the dark ages, or it's just that what is going on?
I'm as surprised to hear this as you were to find that out. But are we talking of women who had set up a news portal, or what kind of media were they part of?
So nowadays, X has now become a media channel.
Yeah.
You can actually run an entire news platform through X. So I'm talking about women who have set up their news channel, news platforms through X. Okay, and they're huge. They play big roles in the whole election game of the US, etc. But still, the larger part is very much the sex appeal is very much a part of their performance.
Well, I wish it was that easy, but it is not. Well, all I can say, probably, there is a bit more. There is that X factor to the news they are bringing on the table. But in fact, I have been noticing a very welcoming change is when television started, being attractive was one of the qualifications for it to be a news reader. But if any of you have been watching some of the serious news channels, you find this part is, it's transcended. You just have to be good at your job. There is no one saying whether you're slim or you're overweight or the body shaming is not there, the beauty aspect is not there. The women are wearing spectacles and they are delivering news like it should be delivered. And I think that is what we've evolved to. This I would still think and would like to believe is an aberration. And maybe it's just to maybe initial attract some attention, but this is not what keeps you in the business. This is not what sustains you. So it's probably more of a flash in the pan than the norm, definitely.
Yes, please.
Question for you, Sujata. Are you penning the story of Kinetic? Are you penning the story of Kinetic? It's a very inspirational story. I'm sure everybody would be interested.
I'll write it also.
Great, thanks. I would need that help. There are some great books.
He's offered to send it as well. She writes it.
Oh, great. So definitely the story of Kinetic belongs to my father. And he's written, books on it. He's the creator of Kinetic. But I can certainly write a story about Kinetic Green. And maybe from Kinetic to Kinetic Green and the transition of the brand to being a sustainable brand, the third gen. In fact, someone jokingly told me the other day when we launched the Lamborghini Golf, doing the Lamborghini golf carts. They said that if you must write a book about your journey, and it should be called From Luna to Lamborghini. So I think I'm getting some the messages are coming to me. So thank you for help from all the audience and from you, from Sunanda, you and all of you to think about this. But yeah, maybe I should. Let me think about it. Thanks.
One last question. Can I go? Yes, please.
With all such accomplished women sitting, I'm sure each one of you all have had your own challenges, and more than challenges, can we have one failure and what that failure has taught? Do we have time for that, ma'am?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So 2000, I graduated out of college and straight up set up an IT company, and I'm non-IT. So this was a family thing, and I think we were before our time that we had launched a website called Women on the Web. And it was all about women and, different things. I think it was way before our time, and it didn't take off too well. So I think that taught me a lot of things, definitely. But yeah, we're talking about a time where, we were not even on the internet looking at anything. And today we have ChatGPT, that helps us. So yeah, I think that taught us a lot.
Well, I could have talked about many business-related learnings, but I'm going to speak of a personal matter, maybe because there are so many young people in this room. And it's not so much as a failure, but as a learning. I told you that I met my husband in the US, and he came back to Pune with me at my polite request. And then once we came back, we got so busy. I was building my businesses and working really hard. He was, trying to find his feet and started a couple of new companies here, which initially failed. Then he started something else. Now he's immensely successful, but it took him many years to kind of find his feet in my city. I came back, I just fit right in, family, friends, society, but for him it was more difficult. And then I think what happened was we kind of got, so impacted into all our personal and professional challenges in lives that we stopped communicating. And it put a lot of strain on our marriage. And then there was a period when we just became strangers, I would say, almost. And then we actually had to separate for a few years because we just, it was not working out. And then brought us back together was COVID, incidentally, when we were forced to live under the same roof again, because our son came back from the US, he was a student there. And he said, Mom, you're living here and Dad is living there and there's no cook and there is nothing. And I'm worried about you and I'm worried about him. So why don't you just come and let's just all stay together. And that's what brought us back. And I heard that COVID actually broke many marriages. It fixed mine. And then, we were forced to be at home all the time and I was cooking for them and we just rebuilt our communication. And we found that over the years, it was just a series of not so much miscommunication, but lack of communication, just because we were so busy facing so many professional and other challenges. And with that, we just didn't deal with each other's, rather than just dealing with the challenges. And of course, now everything is wonderful. We're back together. And as I said, COVID fixed our marriage. But I'm just sharing this with all of you that, along the way, as we try to build our professional careers, whether it's men or women, I think sometimes we lose that communication with our near dear ones. And that's very important. And that's what I learned in my personal journey, in that failure come learning. But all that ends well is well, but happy to share it with all of you.
but like Suluja said, maybe not failures, but yes, learnings from some decisions you took, or the paths you followed. I think every time I have not listened to my own heart, but gone on what people have said or advised, that has always brought a certain degree of sorrow and tears. Right, starting from the fact that I mean, teaching is a great profession, but I was more cut out for journalism, and I did B.Ed for a year. I taught for a year, and for very long, I thought there were two very crucial years of my life which I gave to teaching instead of journalism. But the learning was that I taught in the university for a number of years. I taught journalism students, and that 2 years of my being in the education field helped me a lot. But much later in life, after spending about 20 years at the Indian Express, maybe I got complacent, and maybe I thought, I've been there, done that, seen it, and maybe I need to do something else. And I left journalism, and I moved towards actually marketing, and I worked part-time at a company looking over, over the section for copywriting, which was great. And also at the time I was writing books. I wrote 2 books, which helped. But when there's something which deep down is ingrained in you, which is what you're meant to do, and you don't, you try to veer to do something else just because you think you have reached a certain level in your profession, the time is to reinvent yourself in that profession rather than trying. I thought at a very later stage in life, looking at other lines. That didn't work out really for me. And I remember those 4 or 5 years when I was away from active journalism, I was quite miserable. Even though I brought out books and I was learning new things, but I realized deep down that this is not what I was made for. Just like I realized I was not made for education. So every time I was trying to do something other than where my heart belonged, I always had to struggle. And it was just pure luck, I think, that I took a sabbatical and I was home, and my editor just called up out of the blue and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, nothing really." He said, "Okay, this editor had to go. There's a personal emergency. Just come back." And I said, "Okay." I didn't even say which. Later people told me I should say, "Okay, let me think for a day. Let me get back to you tomorrow." I didn't. I said, because Express was home. I said, "Fine." And that's it. And that's when we realized that, something which comes from within you is what I'm saying. This is also to give you all a bit of unsolicited advice, that really follow your heart, do what your heart says. You know yourself the best. So while people might give you very good, well-meaning advice, deep down only you know what is good for you, and you should just follow that.
So as an oncologist, I think I face failure every day. There is always a patient who, stops responding to the treatment. But then rather than tell them that they have failed the treatment, you have to say the treatment has failed them, which is the truth. So I can't cure everyone. In fact, I can cure only a few patients, but that's part of my life and I accept it. One instance I'd like to share is we all relied on our 12 standard marks to get us to whatever undergrad program. And the year I finished my HSC, there were these extra marks, like 3 extra marks if you did this sport, and 3 extra marks if your father was in this and this. So I didn't talk to my dad. I just filled up the form and I didn't get in by 0.3%, which was 1 mark. And then I realized he'd been a freedom fighter. He had the certificates, and I forgot to mention that. So I spent a whole year doing microbiology and feeling like a complete failure. But it strengthened my belief that I wanted to do medicine, because I could have easily switched to that and said, come on, this is also a great option. But at the end of that 1 year, I went back to med school. And this time, of course, just walked through. The marks were enough. And that taught me patience, perseverance. And if you really want something and are sure of it, I think you can get it. So that's great.
Thank you very much.
And I just want to add one small thing, that failures are there at every step. I work in a newspaper. The day we say it's going to rain, it is the brightest sun that shines that day, believe me. No one blames the Met department. They call us up and say, what are you writing? Yeah, you make one mistake, normally only your people near you know you made the mistake. When we make a mistake, there are 1 lakh readers who recognize and they will call up. So don't let failures ever, don't even call it a failure. Like Sulaja said, they're all stepping stones to learning and doing better. So failures, if you've gone through life without failure, it's probably just a miracle and nothing short of that. Yeah, and on the internet, we had a story saying, where are the rains in July? And we had our own story saying, deluge in Mumbai. It was where were the rains in Maharashtra, we said. And I was telling my office, I said, okay, we're not going out today. We are going to hide our faces. But like I said, we do it every time. We misspell names. Luckily now it's online, so we correct it also.
Can I say something too?
Yes,
Sure.
So I think there's a beautiful line, which experience only taught me, is that success is not a destination and failure is not final. So that's sides of two coin. What I mean by that is that, sometimes when we feel like, oh my God, everything is lost and now there's nothing we can do. But that's not true. Life goes on and we have to find strength and inspiration and commitment and belief to move ahead. And when one door closes, window closes, another door opens. It's true. Really, it's true. And secondly, success also is not a destination. We feel that, I felt that, when we achieve 1,000 crores, I'll be like, wow, this company has made it. But then at that moment, there are so many other challenges around me. The challenges of growth, there's so many more employees, high cost, competitor has done something else that I need to respond to. There could be a problem with health, personal life. So there's no such thing as absolute success and absolute failure. I think that's what my learning has been, that, we have to just enjoy the moment, make the most of it, learn from challenges and always stay extremely committed. So that's what is.
Thank you. Thank you, Sulaja. I think I was going to add one learning from my life, but in the interest of time, we have... No, that's okay. I think this conversation here felt like as if we are sitting in the drawing room, and a very intimate conversation we are having with all of you. Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you very much for being a very patient audience, engaging audience. And Aruna, Vaidehi, Amrita, as always, it has been fantastic to team up with all of you and put together this event. And last but not the least, the panelists, many, many thanks for creating this very memorable experience for all of us. Thank you.
Okay. And now I'd like to request Amrita ma'am to please come forward and present her vote of thanks. Welcome, Amrita Katara.
Good evening, everyone. As we wrap up this inspiring 19th Women's Prowess event, I would like to take a moment to thank the many people who made it all possible. I thank Dr. Aruna Katara, President of Hope Foundation and Research Center, and Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, the Principal Trustee of the GTT Foundation. Both of you have been the backbone of this platform and have inspired so many women. Your vision has not only sustained women's prowess over the years as an event that is a part of our heritage, it has also created a legacy, a best practice model for many generations of women. Over the years, this platform has celebrated remarkable women from diverse backgrounds, each with their own unique journeys and challenges. I hope their voices continue to inspire young women as beacons to aspire to and as paths they can walk with confidence. This year's theme, Reimagining India from Passion to Success, could not have come at a better time. The insights shared today resonate deeply with the collective vision of the India we aspire to create. It was a privilege to have Mr. Parameswaran as our keynote speaker, who opened the session with such authenticity and enthusiasm. Thank you for highlighting the importance of cutting through clutter. I would also like to extend special gratitude to Dr. Uma Ganesh, our panel chair, for guiding the conversation with such care and insight. Your thoughtful weaving of each panelist's views into the theme was truly remarkable and beautifully brought out the richness and diversity of their contributions. To our distinguished panelists, Ms. Mehta, who reminded us that it is important to listen to our hearts and do what we would love to do. Dr. Nag, for sharing how service and giving back to the country guided her journey. Ms. Grewal, who told us about how the support that she received growing up has now led her to empower so many women. And Ms. Firodia Motwani for sharing how we are products of our environment and what we do shapes those around us. Thank you for sharing your journeys, truths, and visions in this space. You spoke to the room, but more importantly, to the hearts of every aspiring changemaker over here. Thank you to the Rotary Club of Pune Riverside and Darshan. I would also like to put on record my deepest appreciation to the team at I2IT, the faculty, staff, and students who have gone above and beyond to ensure that this event is hosted year after year. The warmth and efficiency with which this event is brought to life is unmatched. Today's stories of courage and purpose are more than individual triumphs. They are threads of a larger fabric of a reimagined India, one where passion is not only encouraged, but turned into real, lasting impact. Thank you once again to everyone for being here.
Okay, my stool is gone. Now I'm really sure. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, I can't be seen in the frame. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of this episode, and I'd like to request all of us stand and sing the national anthem before we end. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे Jaya, 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 hey. Thank you, everyone. And that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you. Have a nice evening. May I request all the guests and the panelists, Deena sir, please join us. Prerna ma'am, please join us for a group photo. Amrita ma'am, Shona ma'am. And a group photo.